Hello, Mark, and welcome to our listeners, which is actually the number of listeners is growing by the month, which is very pleasing.
I still don't know what's a good number, but anyway.
Well, does it really matter if
we're having fun?
We're having fun, but more if only 2 or 3 people pick up something out of this, and they are able to improve what they're doing. That's really what it's all about, isn't it?
I am surprised that people come up to us and say, "Oh, we listen to your podcasts," and we go, "Oh, really?" And we do not know them, but they recognise our voices. And
well, I'll repeat I think I mentioned
scary.
on a previous podcast. I was at a breakfast function recently, and at the end of it, I was asked to be one of the people that critiqued the meeting, the breakfast meeting. And afterwards, a gentleman came up to me and said, "Oh, I listened to your podcasts." And I looked at him and thought, "Who are you? I don't know you." And he said, "Oh, I recognised your voice." So it just and then I wrote an article on LinkedIn about how your voice is part of your personal signature
Your
that
brand.
you often neglect.
It is.
In your branding.
It is. So that leads very nicely to our guest today, Kate Ware. And Kate runs MadeGreat. Welcome, Kate.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Kate is one of the people that has probably listened to a podcast and then sort of contacted us and said, could we have a chat? And we are here, and we're really pleased because we've had a few people ask us about getting on the podcast, and we're madly running around with massive lists reaching out to people, so it's nice that people reach out to us. So Kate, the way we always start is, where did you go to primary school? So where was primary school for you?
Primary school was Winchelsea Primary School. In Winchelsea, believe it or not.
Well,
so I'm a country girl.
Well, it's interesting because we've just come from doing another podcast and they went to Winchelsea Primary School too.
There you go.
So
Must be something in the water out in Winchelsea.
Yeah, I reckon.
I went there until grade 4 and then I moved into town and went to Christian College for the rest of my primary school years.
Excellent.
Yes.
And then where?
And then on to Sacred Heart, where, went through 7 to 12 at Sacred Heart.
Yeah, I've got a granddaughter starting there next year. Be interested
Good
to see
school.
how she goes. Yeah.
Excellent school.
Glorious school.
Glorious school. And while you were at school, had you any ideas of where you wanted to go, what you wanted to do?
Yes, I had always had my sights firmly on business. Business management was my favourite subject in year 11 and 12. And I also had a really creative part of me that was coming out in high school. So I did lots of music and performance productions, which led to a bit of a passion for media. And by the end of year 12, I knew that I wanted to study commerce at Deakin and with a focus on marketing. So I was fairly single-minded.
A very clear projection.
Yes.
So outside of your academic and your business career,
Yes.
what other interests have you got? What are your outside hobbies?
Well, interesting you ask. This morning I just participated in a research study for my passion of running. So I love running the Barwon River with my friends a couple of times a week, get up early, watch the sunrise. I also do Pilates and I love that. So I have a focus on health and wellness and also travel. So after I finished uni at Deakin, I went travelling and did the Aussie in London thing. Spent 2 years working in a pub, not doing anything to do with marketing, just living my best life and travelling Europe.
You need to do it though.
Yes. And I met my husband over there. So we have a shared love of travel together. And now we have 2 little kids who also love travelling.
What age are
So
they?
they are 7 and 9. Yes.
Are they into sport, into running? Have you got them down on the
Not
Barwon
quite.
River?
Not yet. They're a bit sporty and a bit creative, but not into running. Yep.
Good.
Yeah.
So you finished your degree at Deakin.
Yes. So,
And then what?
and like I said, went to London, just hung up the boots for the career for a while I focused on having a bit of a, what's it called?
Sabbatical, we'll call it.
Yeah. Gap year. Or 2 years. But slowly started over that time to, start to think about career and getting in touch with establishing, myself as a professional. So I did start working in a financial markets company in London. got to flex some of my commerce degree, but not the marketing side. And then came back to Australia and started working in graphic design agencies. So I was working not as a designer, but in the account service side of things. And I worked in design and branding agencies for 8 years in Melbourne, working my way up to sort of senior account director and general manager roles.
Good life. Enjoy it.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a whole different type of communication, graphic design. So very visual medium of communication, which taught me a whole different sort of skill set than I had initially envisaged my marketing degree to be applied. But it's built a really strong foundation then for my digital marketing era of my career, where I really understand the power of the visual brand as much as, or the visual medium as much as the written or strategic side.
So at what point did you say, I'm not working for anybody else, I'm going to work for me?
So it was about sort of mid-2000s, and social media was coming out in a business sense then. So I'm a bit of a digital dinosaur, where brands and businesses were still grappling with, do we get on this Facebook thing? It was all pretty new, but I was just enamored, loved it, really wanted to shift the direction of my career into social media. And the catalyst for the change was actually when I fell pregnant with my first child. So nothing like going on maternity leave and having 12 months to think about actually where you want to start again. So I started my business, BuzzPop Social, it was then.
At the kitchen table?
Literally at the kitchen table.
Well, Mark, it's a bit of similarity there, even though we are a totally different age group. But Mark and I have just done a couple of tutoring or sessions online, haven't we, with a digital person, I call, learning how to use Facebook and Instagram.
There you go.
So there we go. And it's these podcasts came about because of COVID.
Right.
In my consulting company. I was sitting around there saying, where have all my clients gone?
Yeah.
And so I thought I'll do a podcast, and I went up to Melbourne and actually trialled a couple of podcasts, played them back and thought, they are disgraceful. They are terrible. And I thought about it for a while, and that's why I approached Mark and said, listen, I think we can bounce off each other, and bingo, here we go.
Here you go.
Yeah, so
the dream team.
It was that idle time
yes.
that caused us to, come up with an idea.
Yes.
And
yes.
it's interesting too, Bill and I tend to talk about tipping points or sliding door moments. Something happens that changes. And yours is obviously you felt pregnant.
Yes.
And that was your tipping point.
Yes.
It made you reevaluate what you're doing.
Exactly. And it's a really common story for people, lots of women who I meet in business who have used that opportunity to kind of reevaluate their lives and really ask themselves how they see it. And even in those days it was like 9 years ago, but the whole concept of flexible work and working from home, it wasn't really a thing. Yep. So the only way that I could foresee that flexibility that I wanted for my career in my career for my family was to go it alone.
So in the early days, what were your early lessons? What, I guess, hurdles and highlights in the early days? Plenty of those, I should imagine.
Yes. So, like I said, started on the kitchen table, the baby crawling around my feet if they were awake, or, madly smashing out as much work as I could in sleep times. Business grew pretty organically. I had really strong networks in my professional career prior to going out on my own, which I think was invaluable and still pays dividends to this day, nearly 9 years on. So that was an amazing lesson to build and establish myself within my industry amongst professional networking associations or just peers. But I kind of quite quickly fell into the burnout the hustle culture, I should say, of small business ownership, which at the time I felt like I had to be working at all times to make this thing a success. So that meant not just working in the daytime, in the nap times, but staying up late after the baby had gone to bed, getting up early, a couple of hours before the baby woke up in the morning. And, very quickly led myself to a place of burnout. Yep. So that was probably 12, 18 months on. And I really had to step back again and really reassess, is this worth it? What does this actually mean? I've lost actually my vision and my purpose. The reason why I started this, I don't have flexibility because I'm chained to my own desk all the time.
Well, Kate, I think I had an early version of burnout many years ago when I had my own business, and it got to the point where I was suffering from chronic migraines.
Yeah, right.
And I had a bed in my office because I knew at 5 o'clock when I got up whether I was having a good day or a bad day.
Yeah.
And this went on for a while. So that caused me to bring my brother into the business and take over half the business for us. But the interesting thing was that when we sold the business, I've never had another migraine.
Is that
so
right?
what's the lesson there? Touch wood, I should know.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good. So you say you've been going 8 years. You're in a new premises here.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about your location and why did you choose to come down by the Barwon River? Or maybe because that's where you run, I'm not sure.
Yeah, a bit of both. No, just before COVID, 2019, we moved from Melbourne back to Geelong where I grew up, brought the family here. And I had been at home for 4 years and at the kitchen table, and I thought it's time to leave the home and get my own office space for a bit of camaraderie. We are a collective of businesses here in this space, but we were previously just across the road. So I've got a pool of other small business owners to be able to tap into and ask questions of and sense check problems that might come up, because that business ownership on your own can be quite isolating. And so obviously as my business has grown, so too has my team. So I needed a bit more space to support the team, have places for them to sit where we can collaborate, have clients in.
So do you still work from home? Do you?
No. Oh, 1 day a week. Yeah.
But so you've got that little bit of that flexibility. But
Yeah. I've found my creativity is better when I leave home and come have that delineation.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, that's, it's difficult working at the kitchen table, isn't it?
Yes.
That's what
Yes.
Doing my little research on the internet, as usual, trying to find out who the hell is Kate Ware. I see you went to what's called a digital school, Mumbrella or something. What was that about?
Yeah. The thing about my commerce degree when I did it back in 2005 was that digital marketing looked pretty different to what it looks now. So while the foundations of the marketing degree were well seated at Deakin, I've had to upskill with lots of different providers over the years, as well as learn pretty quickly on the job. So one of the things that, I can't even remember what that one was, to be honest. It was a while ago now, but Mumbrella is a industry publication that has run training in the past. And I work, I'm always on the lookout for new training, about to do one on the new Google Analytics, which is about to come out, and also one with the Digital Picnic, who are a really renowned Melbourne-based female-led agency who do training, and I'm going to do one on AI and ChatGPT.
And do you find you, because it's constantly evolving, you've got to keep being involved
and
upskilling?
Yeah. If you rest on your laurels, you get left behind. Yeah.
Because it is constantly changing, isn't it?
Constantly.
And Google likes to play with their analytics and cause grief to everybody.
Yes,
So.
they all like to change things up, just sometimes I think for the fun of it.
Well, they've got all these programmers sitting there.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
Kate, that applies to any small business owner, and I know Mark and I, live on this mantra of continuous learning.
Absolutely.
And I'm at an age where probably a lot of people say, "Why do I need learning?" Well, I think you just explained it, because the world's changing so quickly.
Yeah.
Things are changing so quickly, and we're mentoring business owners, so we've got to make sure we're one step ahead as well.
Yeah.
And being up to date with and just knowing what's going on in the universe. That's our continuous learning.
And it's interesting because we'll chat about ChatGPT in a minute, but I was at a workshop up in Melbourne. We would break for lunch, so there was 12 of us sitting around a table, and I said, "How many of you have played with ChatGPT?" 8 of the 12 said, "What's that?" And these were quite senior folk in lots of organisations, so that threw me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then 3 said, "Oh, yeah, no, it's dangerous. No, I wouldn't touch it." And then 1, who actually worked at a TAFE, said, "All over it." And I said, "Well, I suppose you have to, because you've got to watch your students and what." And they said, "Well, we're actually trying to encourage students to use it so they can understand how it operates and what goes on with it. But we still have to be aware that someone might be using it to fake a paper."
Yes.
And it was really interesting. And that was only 6 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it has moved so fast. So you playing with ChatGPT, Kate?
Yes, I am. I think one of what you were saying before, Bill, about ever learning and never stopping learning is, one of our core values, where we value curiosity. And so if you're not curious in life, but particularly at work, then we'll get left behind. So this notion of curiosity is driving us to just play at this point and understand how we can use ChatGPT for our clients and to streamline our processes in-house. But also, what does that mean for us as marketers, and where does our role fit? You mentioned before, Mark, about copywriters. If I was a copywriter right now, I'd be terrified, but I am a marketer, and there's plenty of things that it can do to supersede us. So it's about learning what can it do, how can we use it to make ourselves better, and then and elevate.
So, Kate, let's take a step back again,
Sure.
because I'm not sure we covered this, but give us more detail about your business, and I guess it's a bit of what you offer clients and what type of clients do you deal with?
Yeah, sure. So MadeGreat was only recently rebranded this year from BuzzPop Brands, and the primary driver for the rebrand was around understanding at a more core level who our ideal clients are. So we sort of service across multiple tiers of the business world, and we sit up and support marketing managers and marketing directors in corporate roles. And sort of plug our agency around their internal teams to support the gaps that they might have internally, because digital marketing is there's so many touch points, such a broad spectrum of skills and capabilities required. But then for small business owners, which I know a lot of your listeners are probably more in that small to medium-sized business space, we work with them on both personal branding for their leadership, so building their own personal brands to support the benefits of their organisations, and also, again, on a tactical level for things like Google ads, Facebook ads, content strategy, overall digital marketing strategy, perhaps some content creation, and supporting them as busy business owners with limited resources in-house to give them that full-scale marketing experience where they can't afford to basically employ for.
So you create the strategy for them. Do you do the content as well? Do you place?
Yeah, so we're a very end-to-end
Yep.
service where I call us a scalable agency. So we start with strategy in-house, and then I have a team that can flex up and down according to the client and their specific needs. And I bring in the right experts for the job according to the client. So we have just a small team in-house and then, flex up and down
We call
accordingly.
those people SMEs, subject matter experts.
Yes,
That's what we call
exactly.
it. I just want to go back on a personal basis now.
Sure.
Right, you told us that you've got a couple of young children.
Yes.
How do you control their iPads and their time on the internet? Being in that business.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's an evolving beast as they get older. So very much when they were young, I was anti-screens for as long as possible, just trying to let their little brains develop without having a screen glued to their face all the time. I know that's not everyone's strategy, and that's fine. No judgment on everyone's personal approach. But now that they're a bit older, they've started using iPads at school. So the rules are kind of flexible. We now have a bit of a bargain system happening. I don't again know if this is great parenting advice for all your listeners out there.
Well, I'm asking for a reason because I've got two grandkids down here, probably the same age as your two.
Yes.
And they come to our house quite often, and I guess you could say there's arguments.
Yeah.
Go on. All right.
Well,
Sorry.
our two, if they get ready for school within an hour of getting up, so we call it the 8 o'clock challenge because most days they're awake by 7, then they earn 10 minutes screen time to use on the weekends. So they can earn up to 50 minutes.
Oh, you're a tough mum.
I'm listening.
I don't know if it's good, but it's working at the moment. So they can also use all their time at once on the weekend or in smaller blocks, and then they don't have to use it all at once too. So they've got a bit of a rolling tally. And that's how we're doing it at the moment.
All right. Well, we know how you act as a leader at home. How do you act as a leader at work? What do you think your leadership styles are like? Or as Mark would say, if we went and asked your staff or your contractors, describe Kate's leadership, what sort of feedback do you think we'd get?
I think I'm a really collaborative leader. So I really like to work together with my team to get the best outcome for whatever we're working towards. I kind of take that approach with both the staff and our clients. I think collaboration is key in business, but particularly as an agency when we're supporting our clients on their goals. I love to see my team, challenge themselves and push themselves out of their comfort zone. So I'll give them the opportunities to be, independent and show initiative and, sort of choose their own adventure. I think that's been one of the beautiful things about the way that I've structured the business over the years is that there hasn't been a really big, strong, defined hierarchy, and so I've allowed my team to sort of drive their own path forward.
So, Kate, if I'm somebody sitting listening to this, why should I come to you? What can you help me with? I'm sitting there and I've got ads on Facebook. I think they're okay. I do 1 post a week. Maybe I should do 3. Why would I come to you? What can you help me with?
Yeah, well, marketing agencies are a dime a dozen. There's so many of us, but where I can hang our hats is that we believe that we can really take what's good out there and make it great. And that's the many hours of trying to rename the business. I think
Hence made
MadeGreat.
Very good. I like that.
Yes, but yeah, we have this collective experience in, again, the structure of this scalable team where you tap into really senior marketing professionals rather than having to only, to get that sort of experience elsewhere, you'd have to go to big, expensive places. But we are a small and a really agile and responsive team who you can tap into, have all of the intel. We've been around on this stuff since it literally came out, and we can kind of just give you the best approach without blowing smoke or sending you, chasing squirrels up a tree. We're just hand on heart. When small business owners come to us, we look at their budget, we look at their problems, and through our experience can take their marketing investment and spend it like it's our own dollars.
But the end result, Mark, is to help them grow their business.
To help them grow their
business.
Indeed. And that's our mantra in our SME advisory company, is to build better businesses.
Yeah.
That's what our passion is, isn't it?
And I like the name MadeGreat, because I think that ties nicely. So, Kate, how do people get in touch with you?
They can find us on our website, madegreat.com.au. Find me on LinkedIn, which is Kate Ware. You can follow us on socials. We're on across all the platforms, and our username is Brands Made Great. And I think that's probably
the best way to get to you.
Plenty of spots there.
Fantastic. So, Kate, thank you. I've really enjoyed chatting to you.
Pleasure.
You're
Thanks for
again
having
one
me.
of these little secret businesses in Geelong, quietly existing, and I'm glad you reached out, because it opens our eyes to the opportunities around. So we're really pleased that you did, and we enjoyed our chat.
Yes, likewise, Mark. In fact, one of my early ideas for a name for this podcast was Best Kept Secrets, but I found too many other people are close to that. But it's been great to meet you, Kate, and I know your services are well needed by many small to medium businesses, and it's, get in touch, even just to have a chat to get started.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you.